Air is Ben Affleck's and Matt Damon's newest movie, directed by Affleck off a script by Alex Convery and also starring Viola Davis, Jason Bateman, and Chris Tucker. A week after we looked at the pretty abysmal Tetris movie, which tried to make an action thriller out of how Nintendo secured the licensing rights for a video game Tetris, this is a similarly tenuous premise which explores how Nike landed the rights to make shoes with Michael Jordan's name on them. We open being told that in 1984, Nike had just a 17% market share behind Converse and Adidas in the sneaker war. Damon plays an embattled head of basketball, Sonny Vaccaro, who works for Nike, trying to turn things around, working under Affleck's Phil Knight. I think that's the CEO of Nike, but he's a very important person. Meanwhile, we don't actually see Michael Jordan's face at any stage. We hear him speak a total of once in the movie. Instead, we're just aware he's in the room like some godlike figure, while his mother, played by Viola Davis, and his agent as well, do the majority of speaking on his behalf. Where Tetris just turned to outright ridiculous fiction, though, to make its source material more compelling, Air instead attempts the more tried and tested formula of just bathing in nostalgia. We open to, for example, Dire Straits' Money for Nothing and a montage of every bit of 1980s American iconography you can name. Seriously, if you guess the first 15 things you'd expect to see in an American montage about the 80s, you've probably got at least 10 of them were in here. And that's pretty much 90% of the movie right there. It's more of an elaborate music video montage to the sound of Now That's What I Call the 80s, with actors just rattling off old recycled Nike script copy. Similar to the clips in the opening montage, you can probably guess a lot of the soundtrack by just going for what songs would make you feel like it was the 80s. There's a likable, enjoyable movie in here, and I'm not going to say that I didn't have a decent time watching this. Damon and Affleck bring with them a high floor for any project they're involved in. They're clearly passionate about this subject matter too, and I did come away from it wanting to listen to a podcast of Matt Damon just playing Sonny and talking about basketball. There are a lot of meta jokes in here, about the likes of where "Just Do It" the slogan came from, for example, or how people thought Nike was first pronounced. It's pronounced Nike. I'm pronouncing it wrong, but I pronounce it Nike. So, and again, that's kind of the joke right there. I kind of wish the film just went for that tone the entire time and just was kind of a meta screwball comedy. But obviously, they probably wouldn't have gotten the rights to do that from the relevant stakeholders involved. They have to obviously please a lot of taskmasters, with Jordan obviously being heavily involved. We saw he had final editorial say, even in the Netflix documentary The Last Dance, and obviously Nike aren't going to have their reputation tarnished or just be kind of featured in a pure comedy which is laughing at it, which, to be honest, was for me an issue. I know a lot of American reviewers that I've seen are saying that this was an excellent movie and giving it rave reviews, and you know what, if you're a fan of that culture, maybe you will too. I'm less so, because I think American audiences are more attuned to listen to kind of positive propaganda like you'd see in Nike ads, which is why they're so successful and why it worked. Whereas for me, I don't know, I'm a bit more cynical and I want a bit more bite and I want a bit more substance, because this feels like sponsored propaganda at times, as well as the characters speaking like they've been scripted by the writers of those memorable Nike ads past. There's one eye-rolling scene in particular that just maps out Jordan's career to come with clips of it happening. So they're saying this is going to happen and this is going to happen, and literally they show a montage of it happening. It reminds me of if you saw Babylon, the cringy and ode to movies montage that was in that, and just came across like cheap, it came across exploitative, and it came across as lick artsy a bit, to be honest. The direction of the story also seemed a bit confused. Like, for example, is Jordan this prospect that others are looking over in favors of others, which makes Sonny's insistence in sticking to his gut way more impressive? Or is Jordan this sought after prospect where everyone knew that he was going to be Michael Jordan, which makes the bidding war between Nike, Adidas, and Converse more authentic, but Sonny then less impressive? In addition to this, no matter how hard they tried, I wasn't buying them painting Nike, a global powerhouse also known for its usage of sweatshops, as this underdog little engine that could. Again, that along with the bit at the end that points to how much charity work the CEO that Affleck plays did, felt very like a request that they had to accommodate in order to get the licensing for the movie. And look, this is a perfectly fine movie if you're looking for something to watch, if you're bored on like a Tuesday or Wednesday evening and you want to go to the cinema to see something, and this is the only thing on at that suitable time, you won't have a bad time. This won't offend or annoy you. It will make you chuckle a couple of times. There is some laughs in this movie, but only the staunchest of Jordan fans will consider it in any way noteworthy. To put this into context, like my local cinema, and I expected this to be a big movie, and maybe it's just because I'm very much steeped in American culture in a lot of different ways. I expected this to be like one of the big releases of the week. The local cinema that I saw it in had one screening per day on, and it was an evening screening as well, which seems crazy when you consider it's Matt Damon, it's Ben Affleck doing a movie about one of the biggest global superstars of all time and one of the biggest brands on planet Earth, and doing an origin story, so to speak. And that kind of tells you what you need to know, though, because on paper, it should be a huge release. It should be a smash hit. It should be something that's an absolute no-brainer winner of a project. Instead, what it is, it's just a perfectly fine popcorn movie you watch on a flight, or you flick on TV halfway through, you reasonably enjoy while you doze off, and you immediately forget about and never think of again.